And welcome to the Journal of Expressive Writing Open Mic. It is October 12th, 2023, and we are really grateful to be here with all of you tonight. We're also grateful for our featured reader, author Amy Ferris, who's going to be reading to you tonight. And we're grateful to everyone who's come for the open mic. And we'll be putting the list into the chat room momentarily about the signups for that, who has already signed up, because we don't do signups the night of, we always do them in advance. And we'll be featuring the open mic after Amy reads to us and after we have our wonderful discussion with her. Please feel free to put questions and for Amy in the chat room, but also feel free to put comments in there, both for Amy and for each other in the open mic. It's really wonderful when you identify or appreciate someone's writing for you to mention that in the chat. And Jen also will mention some things about people who are reading, whether they've been published in the Journal of Expressive Writing before or not. So please feel free to do that. I want to say thank you to Katarina Konen, who comes in and helps support the process of the open mic. Hi, Katarina.
Hello.
Katarina, before you tell us anything you want us to know about the open mic and renaming yourself, congratulations. You have a book award in this past week. Will you tell us all about it? I'm excited. I don't have all the details in front of me, so I'm going to have you tell us. I'm so excited for you, your book of essays.
Yeah, it was the award for new immigrant writing by Restless Books Press.
And it's a book of your essays.
Yes, so they will publish my book of essays in 2025.
Yeah, congratulations. Can't wait to read it. And of course, we will have you as a feature. So we have that to look forward to. Jen, would you like to say hello to everyone tonight, as you often do?
Hi, everybody. I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I'm so grateful to see people who are familiar to me and for new faces. And I'm so grateful to have Amy Ferris here reading from her book, which I finished last night and just love. So it's just, I think, perfect for this time and this evening. And I want to thank, of course, Kelly for her fabulous hosting and producing of this event. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jen. As some of you who've been here before know, I do like to start and open the evening with a poem for our community and for our gathering together to set the tone a little bit. And for this month, I have chosen a poem by Rosemary Watola Tromer, and it is called Big Lesson. Today, it feels so simple. We are here to take care of each other. How could we ever forget? As if soil could forget it is here to feed the trees. As if trees could forget they are here to feed the soil. How could anything ever get in the way of generosity? How could we ever greet each other with any words besides, "How can I help you?" As if light could forget it is here to help illuminate, as if dark could forget it is here to help us heal. And that was Big Lesson by Rosemary Watola Tromer. Well, we are really grateful that Amy is here to read to us tonight from her book, Mighty Gorgeous. I think we all need to feel mighty gorgeous tonight. It's a little book about messy love. And we're so excited to hear her read from it. But I want to start with the introduction and say a few things about the book. The book cover asks, why are we so determined to be loved rather than to love ourselves? Why is it so hard to forgive our imperfections and remember that we're extraordinary? Why are we so willing to listen to others' voices when our own voice is right here screaming to be heard? Full of the stories that have brought her to this moment and the accompanying wisdom those experiences have lent her, mighty gorgeous is Amy Ferris's answer, tender, fierce, irreverent to these questions and much more. I want to tell you what Lisa Luca, who was a reader here last spring, who wrote Ashes to Ink, what she says about Amy's book. In her uniquely fierce and tender voice, Ferris shares her stories, her truth with humor and breathtaking honesty as she offers up a brilliant manifesto, inviting us to embrace all the messiness of being human. Ferris reminds us that we can pull ourselves out of the wreckage of our bad choices and discover our greatness beneath layers of judgment, especially our own. She wakes us up to the power of love to heal our wounded hearts and to wear our scars like stardust. You will want to keep this book on your nightstand to read again and again. In looking at some other things Amy has said about writing Mighty Gorgeous, I found a podcast where she was quoted as saying, "I'm filled with hope. I believe there are a lot of good people out there. I have to believe that the good guys win, but there's a lot of ugly out there. Those of us who write have to keep inspiring other people to use their voice to be loud and messy and make a ruckus." That's, of course, what Jen Minotti, our founder of Journal of Expressive Writing, certainly encourages people to do, and what we're here together to do tonight. She writes, "What I would tell women is that everything that ever happens to us should be used to inspire and encourage other women and men. Turn our mistakes into our mission." So, about Amy, she's an author, a writer, a screenwriter, an editor, and a playwright. Her memoir, Marrying George Clooney, Confessions from a Midlife Crisis, from Seal Press, was adapted into an off-Broadway play in 2012, and she's written for both the big screen, Mr. Wonderful, Anthony Minghella, director, and the small screen, Jack's Place, Scott Brazil, producer-director. And her screenplay for Funny Valentines, director Julie Dash, was nominated for a Best Adapted Screenplay Award. She's written 3 books, 1 YA novel, and contributed to numerous anthologies. She curated and edited the anthology Shades of Blue from Steel Press, co-edited the anthology Dancing at the Shame Prom by Seal Press, and co-authored with Rev Run and DMC, the memoir Old School Love, 2021 for HarperCollins. Amy is a contributing author to Aftermath, Life in Post-Roe America, edited by Elizabeth Hines. She serves on the advisory board of the Women's Media Center, co-founded by Gloria Steinem, Jane Fonda, and Robin Morgan. She co-founded the Milford Readers and Writers Festival. She's on the faculty at the Kauai Writers Conference, and Amy was named one of Women's E! News 21 leaders for the 21st century. She was recognized an award for being one of the 12 women who changed the world by Next Tribe. Amy serves as mentor at the Rocaberti Writers Retreat. Her new memoir, Mighty Gorgeous, which we're going to hear from tonight, was published this fall by She Writes Press, and her deepest passion is for all women to awaken to their greatness. Having led numerous writing workshops around the country, she can attest that, yes, writing does save lives, including our own. Thank you for being here with us tonight, Amy. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. Wow.
You're on.
Oh, so I can read, yeah?
You can.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to read a few pages from my book. And this is the intro. A little bit about me. In 68 years, I've had my heart ripped to shreds, broken into pieces, and crazy glued back together. I dropped out of high school, tried suicide, and spent some time on a commune. I was thrown out for shaving my legs. True story. I got my GED at 17 and never went on to college. I filled my body with enough drugs to open a pharmacy, and I slept with a gazillion wrong men whose first name was either Joe or David or I'll call you. I fell down, I got up. I fell down, I got up. I fell down, I got up. I spent all the money I made as a waitress and temp worker on fast food and rent and useless dreck. And then I started making a ton of dough as a writer. I wrote a couple of groovy movies that got made into groovy films and have had more than a few books published. I have loved bad men and cruel men and married the coolest guy on the planet. I've been betrayed and hurt and cracked wide open by women friends, and you'll still get me to love you and champion you and toss you a line. I lost my mom to dementia. I lost my dad to a heart attack, and my family unraveled into a million estranged threads. I don't believe in God, but I do believe we are all capable of being godlike and goddess-like, kind, good, loving, and compassionate. And I do believe if there was a God, she is a woman. I think Colin Kaepernick is a superhero. And men who abuse their power are insecure and small. I believe in redemption with my whole entire heart. And I believe it's one of the most underrated and necessary issues that we don't talk about enough. I want to talk about it. I believe in second chances, and I believe that the third time is in fact a charm. I believe there is nothing more glorious than a human who can stand in their own power and be comfortable in their own skin and their own beauty and their own greatness. I can safely.
Amy, I'm so sorry. I'm going to interrupt you just to ask. We're having someone who is having a hard time hearing you, and I'm wondering if there's any way to raise your voice a little or move slightly. And I hate to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You sound so beautiful, but if you can possibly move slightly closer to the computer or something that and lift the volume a tiny bit, then because I want to make sure everybody can hear you. So thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. So I believe in second chances, and I believe that the third time is in fact a charm. I believe there is nothing more glorious than a human who can stand in their own power and be comfortable in their own skin and own beauty and their greatness. I can safely say that, yes, I have made it to that place. I believe getting loved is way better than getting laid, but getting laid beats phone sex by a mile. But nothing beats self-love, nothing. I know for a fact that kind is way better than nice. And the Verizon friends and family plan is pretty bogus. I recommend we put a fast halt on being needed and pump the motherfucker gas on being wanted. I feel strongly about inequality and injustice, and that poverty destroys and kills more lives than we care to admit. I know for a fact that depression comes in waves and tsunamis, and dementia grabs you by the throat and doesn't let you go. I know that money doesn't buy happiness or friendship or love, but having some cash sure the fuck makes you less worried. I learned a long time ago that marrying well can't hold a candle to marrying good. And if you can't find a light at the end of the tunnel, you are in the wrong tunnel. There is always a light somewhere. I love that my life is made up of broken, edgy, frayed, magnificent, glorious, sexy, gooey pieces. I am so proud of who I am and who I have become. Because I gotta say, for a while, it was touch and go. Thrilled to be here. Absolutely thrilled to be here. It all started here, a ritual. Every Saturday, we took the Long Island Railroad from Belmore to Manhattan, New York City. The train ride was about 48 minutes, station to station. At the candy store in Belmore, he got a newspaper and a coffee with a little milk, and I got chocolate milk. On the train, we would find seats together side by side, and we would sit, and he would read, and I would stare out the window, watching the world swish by. He had been arrested. A bribery case. The United States versus my dad. He didn't expect to be caught. He didn't expect to be arrested. We didn't expect life to change. She didn't expect to pawn all of her jewelry. And I didn't expect to be bullied and harassed and to have only imaginary friends. We had never known that kind of fear and sadness before. And now they had moved in with us, constant companions, tagging along wherever we went. You don't expect that kind of shit when you're 8 years old. He needed a job to feed us, to pay the bills, the mortgage, the car, the clothes. He got a job working at Melvin's frame shop in the West 30s, or maybe it was the West 40s. We would walk from Penn Station, the Long Island Railroad, to the shop. His friend, Murray, got him the job. Melvin was Murray's cousin. Melvin made frames for museums and art galleries and was pretty well known in that world. Elaborate frames, fancy frames, gold and silver, huge frames. My dad was hired to sweep the floors and clean the place. A janitor. He would sweep and clean and label frames and organize things, and I would sit on the wooden table. My skinny little girl legs dangling, watching, mesmerized, as he swept the wooden shavings from under the tables with a huge broom and dustpan. Melvin would berate him in an accent sprinkled with angry. Sweep here, here, this, here, this dust, this sand, these wood chips. Sweep, goddammit, sweep, you lazy, lazy man. Can't you see where you're sweeping? And my dad would shrink right before me, right before my eyes. He would shrink and disappear, and I was so scared that he would disappear forever. He was a tall man, 6'1", but Melvin could make him disappear. Melvin had the same tattoos that Phyllis and Henry had. The same exact tattoos. I called them cartoons. I didn't know what tattoos were, numbers like a telephone number on their forearm. Melvin had the same tattoo as them. I knew about those numbers. I knew that Phyllis and Henry had lost both sets of parents, all four. They had been burned to death in an oven. I knew that story. I had heard that story over family get-togethers and dinners. Incinerated was the word used. I sat on the wooden work table, my skinny little legs dangling, and watched, witnessed, as Melvin spewed at my father. God damn you, you lazy man. And I watched my dad lose whatever faith he was clinging to while I was clinging to him. I wasn't sure why he brought me with him on Saturdays. Maybe he wanted me to know that he loved me. Maybe he was lonely. Maybe because it was a Saturday and he'd never needed to work on Saturdays. And that was our day. Our days were different before the arrest. They were filled with hope and possibility, museums and plays, theater and movies, And yes, Aunt Jemima pancakes. Maybe he needed to know that no matter what, I would love him. We would leave the frame shop right on the dot, 5 o'clock, and we would walk down Broadway to Penn Station. We'd stop at the Automat. He would get a steaming hot cup of coffee, and I would get a milkshake, chocolate. And we would sit at the counter, and I would watch my dad stare into his coffee 1,000,000 miles away. And I would make believe that I was a princess from the island of Long, and we were having a day out, and no one could find us. I liked that game. And then we would stand up, and almost on cue, we would both exhale, and then he would leave a tip, a few coins for the waitress behind the counter. And we would walk to the train station a few blocks away and climb down the stairs into the station and find the track number and go to the platform and wait for our train. And the train would swish into the station, loud and steamy. And when the conductor said, "All aboard," because back then that's what they said, we stepped in and found our seats, and I grabbed my dad's hand, and I didn't let go. I didn't let go. And I could feel every bit of his sad and his unhappy and his burden and his disappointment and his humility and his anger and his disgrace and his embarrassment and his shame and his worry and his fear and his doubt entwined in my fingers. Our hands, I could feel it. And when I finally caught his eye, when he finally looked down at me, his little girl, his princess, my eyes were saying, "You're my hero. Daddy, you're my hero." And I think maybe for a few seconds he believed me. And I think that maybe that gave him just a little bit more courage, a little more hope, at least enough courage and hope to get us home. After months, day in and day out, my dad was acquitted on a technicality. Our life came back piece by broken piece, by broken piece, by broken piece. He stopped working at the frame shop, and my mother stopped pawning her jewelry, and I stopped having imaginary friends. And we never talked about that time. It was taboo. That huge, massive cluster of shame was tucked away, because that's what you did back then. When something bad, awful, horrible happened, it was swept under the table, along with all the wood chips and all the dust and all the shavings, into corners and crevices and cracks and under rugs, hidden and buried deep. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy.
Oof. I just want to say, Catherine.
It's Katerina. Yeah.
Karina, I was able to watch you and look at you when I read, so thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, you could see how, I hope you could see how moving your words are.
I watched your face, so I was able to focus on you, and I really want to thank you for being that person that I was able to read this to. I'd never read it out loud. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is something, Amy, that you are committed to doing, which is being afraid and doing it anyway.
Absolutely.
And this commitment to vulnerability is something you bring into all your writing life, I think.
I do.
Can you tell us what what you perceive to be? I mean, it's obviously obvious, but I would love to have you talk about how you discovered the rewards of doing that, or what do you experience as the rewards of doing that? Because it is so easy. It's easier to say no.
You know, I think a lot of it has to do with years ago, Kelly, I was asked what school did I go to? I was going to be a keynote speaker.
Uh-huh.
And I was asked, where did you go to school? And I thought, well, East Meadow High School, but I didn't graduate. And all of a sudden, all of the shame that I felt, all of the unbearable fear, all of the, I'm going to be outed, you know, I'm a sham, came to the surface. And when I told the woman that I had a GED, she said, my God, you're extraordinary. And that completely changed everything for me. It was a moment where all of that fear that I had about not finishing high school, about dropping out, and she was acknowledging that I was so brave, that I had so much to tell. That changed my life. And I thought, you know, being open, being brave, sharing our stories, that inspires other people.
Yeah.
And then she went on to tell me that her own sister had dropped out and they never talked about it. And now she felt like, oh my God, she could, you know, talk about this. We don't talk about these things.
You do. You do.
I do. I talk about them
Yeah.
incessantly to the point where people really want to know. It's like somebody once asked me and said, oh my God, you've got so much that is coming out of your closet. But I really believe that everything that I share, and I mean this sincerely, inspires another human being. Any person who's living in the closet, whatever closet, by the way, that is. Any person who is afraid to tell their story. I mean, I know Melissa Giberson is here tonight. I am one of her greatest fans. She is remarkable human being. You know, she was brave in writing Late Bloomer. She was so brave in writing a book about coming out late in life. You know, and Lisa Luca, you talked about Lisa before. Lisa Luca and Beth Brode and I, you know, have created this incredible community for women, wise words, so that women can come out and tell their story, whatever it is. You know, that's important. It's important for women and it is important for men. You know, we all need to come out of that darkness.
And that is your commitment to what you call authenticity.
Yes.
And being real in the world and helping that realness that you bring, that vulnerability, inspire other people. And so you said, so this was a hard essay to read about your dad, and it was a taboo. Oh, it was a traumatic experience for you and the family, and you wrote it in the book. Makes me wonder, or I was sort of wondering about which of the essays in your book which was the hardest and maybe which was the easiest to write.
I think the hardest was the one at the end about my mom leaving my father at the hospital. That's something that since 1999, none of us have ever talked about. And I mean, my family is completely fractured, you know, and we're totally and completely estranged. But that's a story that I lived 2.5 weeks ago. And I'm going to bring up Melissa again and Vivian because they saved me for an entire week. And there was Ken, you know, having not only heart issues, but we found out that he had pneumonia. And all I kept thinking about was that my mother left my dad at the hospital and he died. And that was a really, really hard piece for me to write, because I was also exposing something that hadn't been talked about, but it was also something that I really felt very strongly about Kelly that I needed to get out of my body. And I kind of feel like it's so extraordinary in a weird way, but not so weird, that my book came out and there I was sitting in a hospital with my husband, not wanting to, and I do once again credit Melissa and Vivian for keeping me there. And my dad, I had a dream about my father 2 days before he died, which I didn't write about, but 2 days before my dad died, in my dream, he came to me and he said, I need to say goodbye. And I said, where are you going, Dad? And he said, well, I need to say goodbye. And I just want you to know that I love you. And I woke up from that dream and I thought, and I called my dad, and, and he answered the phone and he aim chick, and then 24 hours later, my dad was in a hospital. And for the longest time, I thought my father never said goodbye to me. That's not like him. And then I really went back into my own life and realized that my father had said goodbye. And that's something that's so incredibly difficult to talk about.
But it sounds like that was one of the discoveries that you got through the writing process.
Yes.
That you would not have otherwise gotten.
I think when we write our truth, I think that when we put and here's something that I utterly 100% believe in. We need to get it out of our body. It's not necessary that we put it out in the world. I need to get a story out of my body. I need to put it down on paper or on the computer. I don't necessarily have to share that with the entire world. I just need for it to get out of my body.
And that is one of the ways that it seems to me you keep saying yes, no matter what, to your writing, because you're going to get out of the body. And you talked about being, of course, a diarist as a little girl, and you were able to put everything in there. And so sometimes to get it out of your body, it's going to go into the diary.
I thought I was going to marry Richard Polito when I was 8 years old. I mean, that was for sure. I wrote, that I got, a new pair of Legions, and I was going to marry Richard Polito and have his babies. That did not happen.
Okay. Oksana Mauricio says, yes, it's said that trauma stays in our body. I'm also a diarist since I was 10. Being here just for this portion to listen to you read was wonderful. So, okay. So if you had only put a lot of these material in these essays into your diary, Amy, we wouldn't necessarily know them. At some point,
very true.
you decided to publish them. And so I think what you're talking about in saying yes to your writing has to do with yes to getting it out of your body, and then getting over maybe the resistance to not tell the truth to the wider world, right? And so why say yes to the publishing aspect of it? What are the gifts, the reasons, the rewards? I mean, we all kind of know this, but I think you have a beautiful way of conceiving of it and helping us with it.
I think that there are certain stories that we don't have to share with the world. I think it's really important that we, that those stories we literally get out of, because they're jamming up our heart. But I do think that every single story that we think, oh, no one can relate or no one will be able to. It's astonishing how many people can relate. It's astonishing how many lives we end up saving. And I don't mean saving, but how many people will come out and say, thank you so much for writing about that. You know, when Robin Williams took his life, the entire world was shaken. And that was the very, very first time that I thought, okay, I can share my story of trying suicide when I was 14. And I posted about it because there were so many people who were, you know, talking about how selfish he was and how, you know, how dare he. And I thought, you know, you don't know what it's like to live in a body that's filled with shame and depression and dark. And I needed to write about that because it astonished me how many people were saying, wow, you know, that's bad. You know, why did he do it? It's selfish.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a post about, because my friend did, she said, did you ever try it? And I knew exactly what she was talking about. And I wrote about it. And thousands, it was like the first time that I ever experienced like floodgates opening. Thousands of people started writing about their own story about depression. And I literally called up my publisher at Seal Press. And I said, okay, wait a minute. I just posted this. I want to do an anthology. And she immediately was like instantaneous. And she said, yes, let's do this. And I reached out to 38 friends. They all said they had a story. It was remarkable. And that book became the foundation for all of it. It became like the vagina monologues. You know, we did theatrical productions around the country. And we partnered with, you know, This Is My Brave and the Depressed Cake Shop and all of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But that gave people the opportunity to talk so much about their own depression. And that to me, everything, you know, opening my soul was worth every bit of the pain and every bit of the sadness that it manifested.
It seems as though you have launched and belong to a lot of communities, that you're very connected to community.
I am.
And that part seems really important to you.
It is. And, you know, I co-founded, you know, a literary festival here. I'm very involved with, you know, all women's organizations, political and non-political. And, you know, like I said, Lisa and Beth and I came together and created Wise Women, Wise Words, which, you know, was born out of a need for community. It was born out of a need for, you know, us talking about certain things. And we thought, wow, if we're talking about them, then other women are going to talk about them. And that's pretty, you know, that's something that I think I'm not unique in that sense.
Mm-hmm,
There are
mm-hmm.
a lot of people, women and men, who talk and do and take action to create a community. And I think right now we live in a world where we need a community. We're coming out of COVID. You know, those of us who were affected by the Writers Guild and now the SAG, you know, it's like 3 or 4 years of what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
So creating communities is vital. And you know, community is in community.
The what? What?
Community is in community.
The word, for some reason, it's garbling every time you say it. The word, what is in community?
Unity.
Unity. Thank you. You seem to be able to flex your writing talent skills in so many genres. Did that just happen naturally to you? Do you have a preference about genre? Do you have, like, I mean, you've written plays, you've written really compelling anthologies, you've written social media posts that have gotten huge responses. And so, yes, excuse me, I have a grandson.
Oh, you have a grandson.
Yeah. Just say a quick hi. Yes, he wants to do yoga.
Oh, hello.
So wave, say hi to all my friends.
Hi. Hi.
Okay, there's all of the friends.
That's all my friends,
Oh
because
my
this is
God,
a community.
gorgeous. Look at
This is-
that.
This is a community. We will do yoga when I'm done, okay? Can you say bye for now so I can keep with my friends, and I'll let you know as soon as I'm done, okay?
Oh,
Thank you, baby.
I'll get the yoga mats later.
Yeah, okay. Oh dear. Okay. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
really adorable.
Thank you. Where was I? Where were we? I was talking about genre. I asked you about genre, and
Genres. Different genres. I love writing every bit of it. I was fortunate enough to, in 1988, to hook up with a woman on the Writers Guild strike line, and we wrote a movie together because we, had to wait, what do you do? And that movie was optioned and made into a movie, that script rather. And I always wanted to write a play, and marrying George Clooney, became an off-Broadway play. I think part of it is that I'm open to all genres. I'm open to anthologies, I'm open to screenplays, I'm open to, I love the written word. I just love it. And if I have an opportunity, it's kind of like, many years ago, I wrote a very short story about going to a psychic. And it was like 2 pages, and I sent it to my friend Monty, who was best friends with Tom Fontana, who had created Sing Elsewhere and a couple of other Oz and and he sent it on to Tom. And Tom read it and called me 2 days later and said, I'm doing a show in New York called Tattingers, and I would love for you to be a writer on the show. And I said, what did you read? And he said, well, Monty sent me your little piece on psychics. And I thought, wow, this chick is a good writer. So I do have to say that I think a lot of it is, that I've been incredibly fortunate, but I've also been incredibly open to, if somebody like Monty, who was a friend, and I said, hey, Monty, would you read this? And I didn't know that he was going to forward it to somebody like Tom. But, I also really, truly am a believer in lifting and championing other people. I've been fortunate enough to have that happen in my life, where people have come in and said, oh my God, this is so good, and I just feel like, that's what we need to do. We need to lift and champion each other and make sure that our voices are heard and our words are out there. And, we shouldn't hoard any of that.
Beautiful. Amy, I think we could stop there. We could go on with this all night, but I mean, that's a really beautiful bookend to your lovely reading, to champion each other and inspire each other. Really, really beautiful. I'm so grateful for your talk and for your book and for your being here tonight. And there's so many comments that are in the chat room for you to look at now as you have a moment. And I'm going to, we will check in with you just to say goodbye at the end of the night. And we're going to move over now to, we will move over to the open mic. And what I'm going to do is, okay, here we have it. Okay, excellent. Thank you. We are going to be having tonight Ann Casper Melissa Giberson, Karen Hefner, John Swainston, Imani Elaine, Birdman 313, and Katarina Conan. And I'm going to remind everybody 3-minute limit, and to make sure your name. Katarina, did you check? Is everybody here? Are you good for?
I checked. I don't see Imani anymore. So
Imani, is it possible you're here under a different name? Okay. All righty. So that's the list we're going to go with. And what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to spotlight you when it's your turn. Unmute, please, and then just go ahead and read for 3 minutes. I do time our readings. I'm actually probably going to be a little bit more flexible tonight because we are pretty, we've got plenty of time. So anyway, 3 minutes is the request, and then just mute after you're done. So Anne, Casper, give me a wave so I can see where you are. Oh, there you are. Anne, do you want to turn your, there you are.
I'm here. Hello.
Well, thanks for coming, Anne, and whenever you're ready.
Yes, thanks for hosting. It was beautiful, Amy. I enjoyed hearing your essay. I'm going to read several short poems. Sorry, I'm looking to the side. Someday I'll have it in front of me and read it correctly. Honu Twilight. A volcano of newborn Honus erupts on the beach. A pair of tiny turtles, the top they do not reach. Their flipper feet formed for sandy tracks never tread, and sunny trips back home to the warmth of their mother's bed. Reflections. Infant gazed into the mirror, amazement crossed her face, as giggles leaped from out her throat, secure in Ma's embrace. Linslu gazed into the mirror with artistry-filled eyes, the thief of Mama's makeup kit colored a new disguise. Lindsay gazed into the mirror, appalled that she had grown, a tree curved by her ripened fruit with weight she'd never known. Miss Smith gazed into the mirror, ecstatic with freedom, but envies the caterpillar whose test flight hasn't come. Mother gazed into the mirror with graying hairs that mock. She wielded youth's almighty sword against the scornful clock. Grandma gazed into the mirror, a stranger behind her. She is wrinkly with streams of life, as she and death confer. Karma flow. My flesh feels a mess, a baby seal, no energy to preen, scared to be seen, longing to take up less space. Out of place among the swans, but now I belong. We flow together, our prana, the same song. I'm too short to contort like them. My broken web feet can't compete when the water is so deep. I can't crow, peacock, or even eagle. But with you, I can fly. Anu, atomic. The older I become, the more beauty I see in me. When society says that can't be, I'm supposed to remain the same, be tame, passively expire with time, not define who I am, be at the mercy of mankind, to be judged. But you made mercy love to me, sparkling in the constellations above and on our new face, we made space. But I decide where we place in our atomic heart race. You renamed me, but I was already anew, a declaration pursed on passioned lips, shining like morning dew. Iced tea. You said I'm a perfect combination of cute and sexy, like a nice tea. But you made me a wicked combination of crumbled and bitter coffee grounds, soggy, used, discarded in the trash with an angry thud no one hears. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ann Casper. And